Tonight, a regional story making national headlines. Undocumented immigrants working at Trump properties in both New York and New Jersey. We have a special report including conversations with the workers, one of their attorneys, and much more. Then, we will make you a part of the program. And here's our question to you. With more announcements by the day of people running for president, who do you want and what do you want in our next commander-in-chief? Toll-free number on your screen right now. Get on those phone lines, 38766-2428 or 888-RNN-CHAT. Also, Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks, he'll join us to take a look at Democrats are trying to make it easier for people to vote, but the other side of the aisle doing their best to block that plan. That and much more with the Young Turks. Evening, everybody, and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French. There's never any dull Fridays anymore. Today, no exception. Yet another Democrat today entering the presidential race here. Today, New Jersey Senator Cory Booker. And we want to hear from you. As Booker and other names enter the race, what do you want in your next president here? What kind of politics? Do you want somebody more electable? Do you want somebody taking position stands here? Do you want experience? Do you want somebody outside the box? So many different ways to go, and we give you the opportunity to make your opinion heard. You see the toll-free number there, and you can also, like I said, give us a call and become part of the program. Okay, first though, yet another controversy involving who else but Donald Trump. This one, though, it has nothing to do with Russia. It's right in our backyard in both New York and New Jersey. More specifically, I'm talking about Bedminster Golf Club in Jersey and the Trump Golf Club in Westchester County, and undocumented immigrants working at both facilities. Files One's Ray Ramundi, he joins us now with much more. Ray?
Yeah, that's right, Rich. Over the past couple of days, I've been speaking with former workers, their attorney, and even a congresswoman who's bringing one of the immigrants to the State of the Union address as her guest. Tonight, we also hear from the Trump Organization and the policies they've now enacted in order to track and verify their employees.
The clash over immigration in America continues, and right smack in the middle, the Trump golf properties in Bedminster, New Jersey, and Briarcliff Manor, New York. The president telling the New York Times he will get that border wall with or without Congress, as those former Trump workers lash out against the president and the organization carrying his namesake.
It's been hard because I've been without job for like almost 2 weeks.
Gabriel Sedano, one of almost a dozen former workers fired from the Trump National Golf Club in Westchester County on January 18th. He spent 14 years working in maintenance. His wife worked in the housekeeping department for 6 years. They both saved stacks of pay stubs from their time working there. The sudden termination coming as Sedano claims accountants of the golf club were aware of forged paperwork submitted in order to continue working.
But many people know, like many people was like not legal in this country, and they just keep us there because we was hard workers. We are hard workers.
The revelations of those unsolicited terminations come after the president and his sons, who now have day-to-day control of the Trump Organization, have lambasted undocumented migrants here in America and continues to demand a $5 billion border wall. The federal government shut down for over a month because of it. Immigration attorney Annabelle Romero.
Management knew that they were undocumented, that they were told that they could just go and buy fraudulent documents. And once they started working there, that's when the abuse began.
Between Bedminster and Briarcliff Manor, Annabelle Romero says he now represents 20 terminated workers between the two golf clubs. Victorina Morales is one of them.
Hicieron mis documentos.
Victorina says she submitted numerous documents to Trump managers and they rarely checked them. And when they did check, she says they encouraged her to get better forged documents. Victorina has now become the face for advocacy for undocumented workers and will be an invited guest of Congresswoman Bonnie Watson Coleman to next week's State of the Union address.
She's not only the face of immigration, as far as I'm concerned, she's also the face of Trump hypocrisy.
I want him to declare emergency.
Eric Trump firing back to Fox News' Sean Hannity earlier this week, demanding his father initiate that executive order to build a border wall. But the Trump Organization facing backlash for not using Department of Homeland Security's E-Verify system, the web-based program which verifies employment eligibility. In a statement, the Trump Organization says, quote, "We are actively engaged in uniforming this process across our properties and will institute E-Verify at any property not currently using the system." It also says, quote, "Our employees are like family, but when presented with fake documents, an employer has little choice."
The attorney representing the 20 fired workers from both Trump golf clubs in Bedminster and Briarcliff Manor is demanding both federal and state probes into the hiring practices and treatment of undocumented workers of the Trump Organization. Congressional and senatorial lawmakers in Washington say they will be working to dig deeper into those terminations and how best to provide deportation protection for those undocumented workers, which I have learned from the attorney as well, that there is a circulation letter happening right now amongst members of Congress in order to ensure there is full protection for these undocumented workers.
Now, as you mentioned, the attorney that you've been dealing with for weeks now, from both the club down in Jersey as well as also the one in Westchester County, to a person, the 20 people that were terminated, they all claim that management knew exactly that they weren't legal, and obviously still hired them otherwise and kept them on.
That's absolutely right. In one instance, in Victorina's case, we were even told by her that the picture that she submitted for her green card in order to obtain employment at the Bedminster Golf Club, that photo was actually taken at the golf club as well. In another instance, the attorney tells me that they submitted papers during the limited times that they did ask, and when they submitted the papers, one worker actually told them, hey, take this paper back, get more documents that look more real. So according to them, this is clear evidence to show that maybe they can't confirm that Mr. Trump knew about this, but definitely executives of both of those golf clubs knew and recruited them.
And it's not just that, okay, somebody submitted false documentation, you don't know about it. There were multiple occasions where they were presented with the documents because they had to, whatever, and they looked the other way, not once, but in many cases twice, if not more.
Yes, as you heard Mr. Cedeno say, Rich, they kept them there because they knew they were hard workers. The other instance as well, they probably weren't getting paid the proper wages. The attorney says they weren't receiving any health benefits. They weren't even enrolled in pension plans. Victorina, in the case in Bedminster, says not only did she sustain verbal abuse and threaten received numerous threats about deportation, but she also was called stupid and was even physically abused as well.
Yeah, these were cheap labor that by all accounts worked really hard, and they could treat them any way they wanted, including unfairly, and didn't treat them obviously like they would a normal employee. Okay. We talked about some of the potential protections that they're working on in Congress, but we understand this isn't just, not that this isn't a big enough story as it is, potentially this thing could get even bigger. We're hearing potentially that the Washington Post could have a big story on this on Monday.
That's absolutely right. We don't know what that bombshell would be, but we do understand, based upon information that was submitted to the Washington Post by the attorney representing those immigrants, they did their own digging as well. We will wait to see early next week what that will be, but it promises to be more proof to show that the Trump Organization did know about these undocumented immigrants. Another thing I also want to point out as well is with Victorina Morales going down to the State of the Union next week, just think about it. 8 weeks ago, she suffered all this treatment, as she claims, and now she's going to be walking the halls of Congress and be in the same room as President Trump. It's just extraordinary and remarkable that how that could happen in such a short amount of time. They are both hoping this will have more workers, whether at Trump Organization properties or elsewhere, to come forward about mistreatment and abuse they may be suffering.
We're going to see what the revelations are that do come forward, but again, and I know most of you have done this, but just for a second, the person who launched this whole campaign in the very first speech talking about all the rapists, the murderers, and all the negative elements that would bring down America, for better part of a decade were employing some of these folks, by the allegation at least, having them create false documents to keep them here so they could pay them under the table or pay them a lesser wage and mistreat them, but all the time keeping them part of the Trump organization. Think of the hypocrisy if these allegations are true. We'll, of course, continue to follow it. Ray, great job. Stay on it. I know you will. All right, coming up next, we will pivot to presidential politics, and we want to make you at home a part of our program. Toll-free number right there on the screen, 888-766-2428. So this is what I want to know. Yet again today, another person throws their hat into the ring to be president. But what I want to know is, even if it's not a particular candidate, what do you want in your next president? And in the candidate that's run, do you want somebody that's just going to win? Do you want something of a purist in terms of their policies here, in terms of a particular wing of a party here? Do you want somebody from outside the system? Do you want somebody with experience? Do you want somebody that just won't make headlines every single day for all the wrong reasons? We're going to get to those calls after this. Join us. Toll-free lines open as we speak.